Good evening. So it's Friday night and the defense has rested. I woke up this morning with a little cough, so I didn't go to the courthouse. Like I felt a little raspy. And I felt like it was because I haven't really talked in 3 days. I know that sounds funny, but I talk a lot because I'm a real estate agent. And not talking, I don't know, just like I developed a phlegm. So I didn't want to go down there and make any noise because I knew if you made a noise, especially today, you would be removed, and that's embarrassing. So I thought I'd do a little recap of what I was able to watch today, just for fun. I know it's not funny. I mean, a man's life is on the line, but in my personal opinion, he put himself in that position. And so I got dressed, watched a little bit this morning, came into work late, had it on most of the day, and was texting back and forth with a few friends that thought Georgia hit it out of the park. I do see the feedback on Georgia, and I really felt like people thought it was a Columbo thing, or even though people aren't old enough, all of them that are commenting, a Perry Mason moment. But to give you, for instance, my husband hasn't watched any of the trial until today. So I've been obsessing about it for so long. He turned it on when I left home, watched it on court TV. He didn't tell me about it till tonight. We just left dinner and I came back to do some work. And I said, well, so what do you think, Chris? You haven't watched, his name is Chris. He's a property appraiser. So he is analytical. And I said, what do you think? Do you think he's guilty? He said he's absolutely guilty. He goes, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but Patty, his story made no sense. He didn't know anything about the story. He didn't know anything about Georgia Cappleman. He came in completely blank. He doesn't know who his attorney is. He doesn't know his attorney is a white-collar crime attorney. He just knows he's a dentist from Fort Lauderdale. And he remembered Whale Harbor because he was an appraiser down there and he used to appraise. You know, I had mentioned that. But that's really all. That's all he knew. And he's like, Patty, why would you extort like he said, it doesn't even make sense. Why would he just all willingly open up a safe and hand $138,000? Why did he staple it? $1,000 to hand to someone and just put it in their purse with asking any question. So someone's gonna shoot you in the head in 48 hours. You just hand over 100. No one's gonna do that. Like, it's not even a plausible. It's not a plausible defense, but I was really shocked because he is very kind man and very judicious as an appraiser. So I was really surprised. He's like, he is so guilty. So I was like, good. So he watched most of Georgia's cross-examination and he feels the same way I did. I was really concerned about some of the jurors, but I figured out through media and a couple other people who've watched a lot of trials in Leon County that the last row, 3 close to the exit door where the jury room is, they tend to be the alternate. So I feel a lot better about that because one juror is just about on everyone's, like, he is part of the show. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to be part of the show. I think maybe in his real life, he doesn't get a lot of attention. So he's going to use what he can. But he's very odd. Very, very odd. I know Kathy Cooley, she calls him like the businessman. I don't even think he's that. I think I don't want to disparage any job title, so I'm not going to say what I think he does for a living because he's just so creepy looking, right? I don't know. To me, the girl next to him looks like she's having a hard time and she's moving away, like physically, like lifting herself up in her seat, trying to get away from him, moving her hair. I don't know what's going on there, but it can't be healthy. So we're all glad, those of us that believe he's an alternate, that he is an alternate. And he's the first alternate to go. So say someone misbehaves over the weekend, because of the lineup, he looks like alternate 3. So he would be the first one kicked off the island of jurors. So that's good. He nods his head a lot, makes kind of scrunchy faces, looks at Georgia like he was the one on trial. Like he's like, Weird. Very, very weird. But I thought she did a good job. I think she didn't yell at him because his demeanor is not like it was when he was in Fort Lauderdale. You can, as a female, create a perception that you're bossy or that you're a bitch or that you're uncaring, like even though she has to be uncaring. You don't want that perception there. You want to be completely new, like just completely representative of the case. And that's what I think she did because of his demeanor. If he was more like Wendy and he was more evasive and he was more, I don't know, breathy and just Wendy's odd to me too, then I think she would have been more attack oriented like she was with Wendy. And he messed himself up as it was. So I don't think it was necessary for her to, how shall I say, attack. I think attack's the best word. I don't think it's necessary for her to do that because he messes up on his own. And that's what my husband pointed out. He goes, apart from why would you just hand $138,000 to somebody just because they say someone is going to hurt you and because that person may or may not have yelled at you in the street? It doesn't make any sense. That's a lot of money to just hand, and then to continue to, I can't even, pay her and then sleep with her. I think he's really hard up for friends. I think he's been hard up for friends. I think his friends, even the Mike he spoke about when he was going to Jupiter, he was talking about this Mike wants to have lunch with him or dinner with him. Where's Mike? Where are all these friends? You know, Alex Murdaugh's son showed up in court. He was talked about and being part of another murder. He was questioned and derided and made fun of. But look where he is. He went to his father's. He might have wanted to know if his father was guilty. He might have wanted to be there for emotional support for his father. He might have just been plain curious. Who knows? But he was there. Charlie had no one on his side. And you could tell, like that's a hard thing to go through. It's hard enough to be arrested. It's hard enough to have to walk into the jail by yourself and be strip searched and really lose all sense of your human self, be told when to eat, be told when to sleep, be told when to take your medications, be told when to wash your face. That's what jail is. You get up for when you're in court. So I used to work at Leon County Jail as an agency nurse. And when you're in court and when trials are up or you have a hearing or pre-trial, any of that, you got to get up around 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was an overnight nurse. So I would do meds around 10:30. And then you would have to do them around 2:30 because they're already starting their day at 3. And then they all line up to get to transport. So if you have inhalers or whatever, you have to do that again. So they're up really, really early. I never ate the jail food. It was free for us, but I was like, I'll pass. No offense. I'm not eating. So I don't know how much they eat before or not eat before, but they like pack him a little lunch. Like he's not eating. He's not getting goodies or Metro Deli for lunch, right? He gets water or he'll get a coffee. It's it. Not that I don't think he deserves it, because I think he's a freaking criminal. I just think his demeanor, how do we say it? I think he's been worn down in a lot of ways, that he has a more even tone to his appearance, but he's scared. I think I would have played up on that a little bit more than she did in a way that wasn't aggressive. But I think he's very scared. I think he should be scared of the Latin Kings. I wish, like attorney Tim Jansen, who's a local, very high-profile defense attorney, said, bring Luis Rivera back. Make him face him. I think that would have been rich. I really kind of wish she would have brought Siegfried. But some of the other podcasters felt like Siegfried could have been also more baggage, although he had a subpoena. I don't know if he's still here, if they moved him back to wherever he came from. He's dirt. He's just dirt. Like, these people are just dirt. And like, you're hanging out with them and sleeping with them. I just cannot imagine. You are sleeping with a woman who you know, like, pretend it's not this defense. You know, her ex took this guy out. You know it. He slaughtered him in his garage, blood everywhere. And yet you're sleeping with her. Like, what kind of a human do you have to be? I don't know. I can't even think like that. And let's pretend we'll go back to his defense, which is despicable to begin with. But let's pretend. You believe she's associated with the people who took him out, even if she, quote, isn't part of it, unquote, from 2014 to 2016. You really didn't believe it? You're sleeping with her, whether it's one time or two time or three. What are you doing? Like, is your penis that important? Is your ability to feel good so important that you don't see your own self-danger, the danger to those boys, the danger to Wendy? You didn't care. I just think the hubris that it takes to sleep with a person you believe may or may not have been with him, or the person you knew was going back and forth to Siegfried to you, that moved back in with him, and you're sleeping with him. Unbelievable. Your mom's writing checks. Why would you want to have anything to do with him again? And anything to do with Siegfried and Lewis is her. But you did. You kept her close. You knew what you were doing. Kept her happy. The reason why you kept her happy is because you wanted to know if they would talk. You didn't even know Lewis had been arrested because you didn't know Lewis. I don't know. But I think a lot of viewers, TV viewers, felt like Georgia didn't hit it out of the park. My husband sure did. He didn't know much. I think you have to observe the jury for a while, and mostly as women, and that's a good thing. And frankly, most of the women are African American. That's also a good thing for the prosecution, because they're not going to believe his slimy self. And that's the word, slime. He's not even, he's the favorite. That's your favorite child? Lord, woman. But I don't think the women are going to, I don't think they're going to buy what he's selling. I don't think so. There might be a couple men that be like, he was very lucky. He threw it all away. He's probably not in, but I don't think the African-American women are going to buy it. I didn't see it from the look. That one girl, she's reading the palm of her hand. That's what she was doing yesterday. She's like reading her hand. She was so totally checked out. I didn't get to see the jury today. From what I know, they were very engaged. And like the one alternate that we believe is the alternate, kind of glared at Georgia like, you're just being mean. But she wasn't being mean. She was being direct. She was not being mean. She was not being aggressive. She was proving the point that this man has this whole thing scripted. I mean, he knew the numbers of the audio. How many defendants know the numbers of the audio tape and the dates and the time frame of it? He has it all memorized. He didn't take a deep breath and have to think about it. Even with Wendy, she took a deep breath and said, I don't recall. I don't think there was one time today or yesterday that he said, I don't recall. How does it even happen? I was a witness in a case not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. It was on an escrow deposit. I knew the case, but there were questions I couldn't answer. I mean, granted, the person, the person my client was suing, got to ask me questions, and her questions, she was pro se. She didn't make much sense. But Mom was like, I don't know. How would I know? Because it's not even my purview. I'm not a home inspector. But this guy acted like he knew everything. So it'll be interesting to see. I hope I get all my work done this weekend so I can go on Monday to the closing arguments. Some people on YouTube and Twitter were saying that the closing arguments is really where she wraps it all up. It's not during the cross. I haven't watched enough murder trials to that point in the end to say yay or nay. But I do believe she will take what he said, and she will take a couple hours, and it will be wrapped up. I just hope the jurors behave over the weekend. Don't look at anything, including this video. Listen to the radio. Mind your own business. Don't answer anyone's questions. Praise the Lord. And so I said yesterday, we would talk about a contentious divorce. So I divorced my husband in 2003. What had happened was we never really got along. I was very young when I married him. I had just had a baby. We got married the month later. So we never got along. My parents moved to Florida. They moved to Ormond Beach. And I was very attached to my parents, as he was to his mother. And like, I just wanted to move. So a year later, I was like, I don't want to wait till I die to move to Florida or till I retire. I'm just going to move to Florida. So we moved. I was a nurse, made it easy. He worked for Home Depot. He either worked for Home Depot or Lowe's at the time. And I thought we were doing great. I thought everything was great. We lived on a canal in Palm Coast. We had a little villa. I could work as a nurse anywhere from Daytona Beach to Jacksonville. So shifts were aplenty. I could make good money. We were on the water. Not Tallahassee. Tallahassee, there's no water, right? So I can remember I worked a night shift, and he woke me up one morning and said, hey, I have news. We're moving. I should have left him then. But I didn't. So he moved us to Tallahassee, and I literally went kicking and screaming. I was so upset. I didn't want to leave my parents. I didn't want to leave my life. Like, I loved my life at that point. He and I were getting along pretty well. The kids were adjusting to not being in Pennsylvania. And then you're going to move us again, just in like a little bit. We moved here. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before 9/11. And I don't think he and I made it another 8 months. I think I was done. That's right. I think that if that was the timing, maybe a little longer. But I left them in my head long before that. And that divorce was horrible. He'd been through a divorce where I think he was a lay down, is what we call it in sales. Like, he just take whatever, get here, whatever you want. Kathy, here you go. You can have everything. And for me, it was exactly the opposite. He was extremely hard on me and made my life extremely difficult and made my kids. I mean, we both did at that point. But I was like, I told my daughter this week with this whole Dan Markel and her, like, he just wanted to be a part of their lives. She wanted to be the only parent, right? She didn't want him to be a parent. There was one instance that I read where Dan Markel was going to a baseball game for the boys. And they're only 3 and 4. So it's like T-ball, maybe soccer, maybe. And he shows up and they're like, Abba, Abba, which is what they call him in the Jewish faith. They call their fathers Abba instead of daddy. So it's Abba, Abba, and go over and give him a hug. She was pissed. This woman was pissed at that. They're 3 and 4. My kids were teenagers or just about to be. You can't take that away from these kids. She was completely delusional, and I think still is. And she didn't want them to give him a hug. She wanted him to observe over the fence, shut up, and disappear. That was my take from what I read. And I don't think I'm wrong as of today. I think it's accurate. She wanted to be the only parent, along with her mother. I wanted to be the favorite parent. So there's a difference. I wanted him to pay for my children. I didn't want I needed to work. I didn't want him to be like eliminated from our lives. No. I mean, how much harder would my life have been? It would have been even hard, like hers. She acts like she doesn't have a hard life, but you have a much harder life when you're the only parent than when you're a single, quote, unparent. I married quickly, which was not the best idea for my children, but I wanted to get married. I wanted to have the life I didn't have the first time. It was selfish, it's true, but I did, and I did it, and it got me into real estate, and it changed our entire lives. Positive or negative, it changed our entire lives. But this week when I spoke to my daughter, I said to her, I want to be the favorite. To this day, I want to be the favorite parent. She has a favorite parent. It's not me. Never will be. But I wanted to be the favorite parent and not the only one. I want someone else to like go complain to them. Like stop complaining to me. It didn't work out that way. They still complain to me, but that's what I wanted. So there is a very different. You can have a contentious divorce and want to be the favorite one. You could have a contentious divorce and want to be the only one. But I'm seeing, like locally, there's another case, Thomasville, Georgia. The husband works for Flowers Foods, which they make like Twinkies, and they were a bread manufacturer, I think. I forget which products they make, but they're in Thomasville. And it's probably going to be on Court TV too. But supposedly they had someplace got robbed in the Bahamas where they had a home in the Bahamas. And they found a phone with a WhatsApp message where she was planning a hit. What are these women doing? And men, like you can't it's like DNA. You can't walk out of a room without leaving a trail right now. You can't. I'm here in this office in a warehouse. We got cameras. I got this camera. I got 2 phones. I have my iPad. I have lock boxes that trace us. I have everything that traces me from wherever I'm at. Now, it wasn't like that in 2014, but it is now. And if you think they can't hack a WhatsApp app to see if you're trashing and hiring a hitman for your husband because he didn't want you to have the private plane, but you were cheating on him. You don't get the private plane and the cheating and the house in the Bahamas and everything else. You're not going to get that. And when you marry somebody that has the access to the private plane and the house in the Bahamas and the cash, that's going to be a hard fight in the end. They're going to have the best defense attorneys. They're going to have the best custody attorneys. They're going to have the best of everything. The best of everything. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't want him in my life anymore, you better rethink it because you married him and you got to take responsibility for that. Choose more wisely, like Charlie should have been doing when he's bagging this woman in his bed after he gave her $138,000. If you don't think he gave her that boob job, where else the hell is she going to get that money? So, 37 of it went to Lewis, so it's not him. I never thought I could talk by myself for 23 minutes and 42 seconds, but I am. Where did that $4,000 come from? She put can I tell you? She put $195 on a credit card. These fools used a sun pass to go up through the turnpike. They rented a car. They didn't know how a car. They couldn't borrow a car. The whole thing is just trail. And you think no one's watching you? Everyone is watching you. There are cameras on traffic lights. There are cameras on buses. There were cameras on buses in 2014. That's one way they were able to find the Prius with the damaged and discolored side view mirror. There are cameras everywhere. There are people next to you who have cameras. There are people next to you who use Snapchat that shows their location. When you have Snapchat open and you allow it to take your location, everyone around you is being filmed. If you're walking down the street and some guy, which I have one right here, and he's got his selfie stick, or he has his Osmo, which is a think of it like a drone that has a round ball on it. So when you move, the phone moves like this. I have one. Think about the people who are running drones over your head. There is so much target material, and I mean target as you're the target. Even if you don't believe you're being watched 24/7, you're being watched 24/7. You just are. They can tell by heat maps. I can tell with that Snapchat. I can tell you how many people in a Home Goods are using Snapchat right now in the Home Goods. And they are, because they take these little 30-second videos. You can find out if you were tweeting, you can find out your tweet location. You can find out your Facebook location. You can find out anything you want. So unless you're one of those people who have absolutely no social media, which is very rare, do not think you cannot be found. My son recently had a challenge with someone, and I was like, well, where do they live? And he told me. I'm like, what's their first name? Do you have a last name? Do you have just a couple initials? A couple letters in their name? You know, I was able to find them. They were Spanish, living in Texas, and I was able to find them. I know, I'm going to school for it, but I was able to find them, all legal, because I know where to look. You think what the FBI can do is not, I mean, it's just like DNA. You can't walk out of this room in this warehouse, albeit clean, I work on it, you're going to leave a hair. And I guarantee you, you're going to leave a trace. So if you're thinking of harming anyone, including yourself, don't. It's not worth it. I know the courts are slow. I know you may not get the outcome you want, but your kids are eventually going to grow. And maybe one day you'll be the favorite parent, at least for one of your kids. I'm the favorite for one. But they love me, and they check in on me, and they're respectful to us both. And that's all you can ask for, right? But I really wanted to be the favorite. I really did. But I never thought about, like, what would I have to live with? It just didn't even occur to me. It's just like when I got pregnant before I was married. People have abortions every day. That's their business. But I was like, what if it didn't even occur to me to do it? And someone asked me later on, it just never even occurred to me. Because what would have my life been like if I had to live with that? I just couldn't. And it wasn't even an option. I just dealt with my consequences. Shocking. People deal with their consequences now. And I think that's a great lesson for this Charlie Adelson trial. If you're a parent, teach your children coping skills and teach them how to accept consequences, because that Donald Adelson has done nothing for any of them. Not for the three, probably. One may have developed it on his own, Dr. Adelson, Dr. Robert Adelson, but that's it. She's a horrible mother. I don't want any parts of that. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope I can come back Monday, God willing, and just let me know what you think. Take care. Thank you. Have a great day.